Hey, hello everybody, that was ridiculous. Welcome back to Reading in the Dark. My name is Byron and I read in the dark. I am currently enjoying actually something that's a little bit unusual for me, which is some bourbon on the rocks. On a rock, actually. This is Elijah Craig. It's pretty good. It's even better when there's water in it. So yeah, this video is going to be my TBR for the month of February, which if you've watched this channel before, you know is a word that I love trying to say. Just real quick, in case you're new here, why Reading in the Dark? My channel is called Reading in the Dark because I literally prefer to read at nighttime when it is dark. I feel like during the day there's a lot of distractions and I have a hard time focusing on one thing. So at nighttime, I can just focus on one thing because I'm a terrible multitasker, and I generally read on my Kindle, hence this entire aesthetic. In this video, I'm going to be discussing and really just listing off my TBR for the month of February 2023. This video is going up late. So unless you were living under a rock and did not know, or actually in case you were living under a rock and did not know, the month of February is Black History Month, and this year I am going to once again read all Black authors. I have a lot of books by Black authors that I've purchased that I haven't read yet in my library, and I've chosen quite a few for this month. I'm not going to get to all of these, I don't think. I have not started to read any of them yet, but I am planning on picking up the first one literally in just a few minutes after I finish talking to you. So why don't we dive in, and I will start listing off all of my hopes and dreams, and in a month we'll see how I did. The first book on my list, which is the book I currently have queued up on my Kindle, is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. It was released on September 1st, 2020. It is a thriller, and it also deals with gentrification and like displacement. It has a rating of 3.53 on Goodreads, which is lower than I would have expected. I thought it was really popular the last time I checked, so I don't know if people are falling out of love with this book, but it sounded really cool to me. Rincey said, "My anxiety while reading this book was too high for my comfort," but I guess that means Alyssa Cole did her job. The blurb says, Sydney Green is Brooklyn born and raised, but the neighborhood she loves is being erased before her very eyes. For sale signs are popping up everywhere, and the neighbors she's known all of her life are disappearing. To preserve her past, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour entitled Displaced, A People's History of Brooklyn, and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant in one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the efforts to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other or themselves long enough to find out before they too disappear permanently? So it sort of seems a little bit like it's a gentrification story taken to an extreme, allegorical, thriller, horror direction. And that sounds like a cool commentary, and also like it could be a page turner and a fun read. So I'm looking forward to that. I've been looking forward to that for a long time. It's been on my list many, many months in a row, and I am actually going to read it now. The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. A national bestseller when it first appeared in 1963, The Fire Next Time galvanized the nation and gave passionate voice to the emerging civil rights movement. It consists of 2 letters written on the occasion of the centennial of the Emancipation Proclamation that exhort Americans, both black and white, to attack the terrible legacy of racism. Described by the New York Times Book Review as a sermon, ultimatum, confession, deposition, testament, and chronicle, all presented in searing, brilliant prose. I actually have a collection of essays sitting on my bookshelf that is edited by Jesmyn called The Fire This Time, which obviously is a reference to this, so I felt I should read James Baldwin's original before reading that. Although it is going to be a lot, it is also only 106 pages. And I've heard that it's really, really wonderful and challenging, and I'm looking forward to that. Seems like a great thing to read this month. So I should be able to get through this pretty quickly, except for the fact that it's going to be very intense and challenging, and I'm sure I'm going to be putting the book down and staring off into space and thinking about life. So it might actually be deceptively short and take a while to get through, but I'm looking forward to it very much. 40 Acres by Dwayne Alexander Smith, published in July of 2014 by Atria Books. So this is an interesting one. This has also been on my list for a while. I think this is a book about a black man who is trying to get in closer with his boss and like get a promotion or something. And the black men that he work with have this like modern like secret plantation where they have enslaved white men. And he has to play ball if he wants to get his promotion, but he's like silently horrified by what's going on. Let's see if I remember that correctly. Martin Gray, a smart, talented black lawyer working out of a storefront in Queens, becomes friendly with a group of some of the most powerful, wealthy, and esteemed black men in America. He's dazzled by what they've accomplished, and they seem to think he has the potential to be as successful as they are. They invite him for a weekend away from it all. No wives, no cell phones, no talk of business. But far from home and cut off from everyone he loves, he discovers a disturbing secret that challenges some of his deepest convictions. Martin finds out that his glittering new friends are part of a secret society dedicated to the preservation of the institution of slavery. But this time around, the black men are called master. Joining them seems to guarantee a future without limits. Rebuking them almost certainly guarantees his death. So that sounds fabulous. Maybe a little on the nose in terms of the commentary here, but honestly, I'm into it. Now, this has been on my list for a long time. I hope I get to this. I think I will get to this after Alyssa Cole and James Baldwin. The Between by Tananarive Due. This book was published in August of 2005. When Hilton was just a boy, his aged grandmother I said aged. It just says aged, but for some reason when I read it, I was like, yes, it's aged. Grandmother saved him from drowning by pulling him out of a treacherous ocean current, sacrificing her life for his. Now, 30 years later, Hilton begins to think his borrowed time is running out. His wife, the only elected African-American judge in Dade County, Florida, has begun receiving racist hate mail from a man she once prosecuted, shocker, and Hilton's sleep is plagued by nightmares more horrible than any he has ever experienced. As he battles both the psychotic stalking of his family and the unseen enemy that haunts his sleep, Hilton's sense of reality is slipping away. That doesn't tell me a lot, and I kind of love that. I mean, it sets the scene, and it tells me he's having crazy dreams and maybe he's being stalked by his fate. It's like a little vague, so that blurb to me is kind of awesome. Some people that I follow and enjoy on the BookTube and on Goodreads have given it 4 stars. It has an average rating of 4.08. I love the idea of reading a story set in Florida, dealing with the racism that exists everywhere, but in Florida, since I'm currently living in Florida. And that he has a very successful wife. And I'm sort of fascinated by the idea that because his mother gave her life to save his, that somehow the delicate balance of the universe has been upset and he wasn't supposed to live and he's on borrowed time. I think that's really, really cool. Real Life by Brandon Taylor. This is from February 2020, so it's 3 years ago. I know that this is a black author, and I know that it's a queer own voices story, so that's exciting. Almost everything about Wallace is at odds with the Midwestern University town where he is working uneasily towards a biochem degree. An introverted young man from Alabama, black and queer, he has left behind his family without escaping the long shadows of his childhood. For reasons of self-preservation, Wallace has enforced a wary distance within his own circle of friends, some dating each other, some dating women, some feigning straightness. But over the course of a late summer weekend, a series of confrontations with colleagues, and an unexpected encounter with an ostensibly straight white classmate conspire to fracture his defenses while exposing long-hidden currents of hostility and desire within their community. Real Life is a novel of profound and lacerating power, a story that asks if it's ever really possible to overcome our private wounds and at what cost. Lacerating power. Roxane Gay also gave it 5 stars. The writing is so exceptional. I've had this book on hardcover on my shelf for a long time, and I think I've been afraid of it. And I almost read this book once for like a queer lit weekend, and for some reason I chose something else. But I've been wanting to read it for a long time. And I love the idea of the ostensibly straight white classmate. There's a bird on the cover. I don't know why. Blew my head and heart off. We Cast a Shadow by Maurice Carlos Ruffin from 2019. I learned about this book on BookTube a few years ago when I was first starting to follow other people and write down things that they were mentioning, and I think I bought it on my Kindle right then and there in like 2018 or something and haven't touched it since. So this is another one that's been sitting in my digital library for a long time. that I need to finally get to, and I'm excited. I think this is going to be a good time for it. How far would you go to protect your child? Our narrator faces an impossible decision, like any father. He just wants the best for his son Nigel, a biracial boy whose black birthmark is growing larger by the day. In this near-future society plagued by resurgent racism, segregation, and expanding private prisons, our narrator knows Nigel might not survive. Having watched the world take away his own father, he's determined to stop history from repeating itself. There is one potential solution: a new experimental medical procedure that promises to save lives by turning people white. But in order to afford Nigel's whiteness operation, our narrator must make partner as one of the few black associates at his law firm, jumping through a series of increasingly surreal hoops, from diversity committees to plantation tours to equality activist groups in an urgent quest to protect his son. Wow. So this is like in the grand tradition of sci-fi and what sci-fi is for. To me, the fact that it's in the near future, you use the concept of an imagined future and or technology to shine a light on current issues of the day. I love the idea of this horrible operation, whiteness operation, as a means of having this conversation and telling this story about something that people deal with in this very real world of 2023. Like I said, it's a long list of books, and all of them are books I've wanted to read for a long time, and so I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll have the best reading month of my life, and I'll read all of them. That would be amazing. But it's not likely, so we'll see what happens. But wow, I've wanted to read this for a long time, and it sounds so good. The next thing on my list is The Fire This Time by Jesmyn Ward, edited by Jesmyn Ward. This is a collection of essays by Black authors that is sort of like taking the pulse of the current dialogue about race. Oh, it's right here. Yeah. I want to read the inside flap here. In the essay My Dungeon Shook, James Baldwin, addresses his 15-year-old namesake on the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. He writes, quote, "You know, and I know, that the country is celebrating 100 years of freedom, 100 years too soon." Jesmyn Ward knows that Baldwin's words ring as true as ever today, and she has turned to some of her generation's most original thinkers to write short essays, memoirs, and a few essential poems giving voice to their concerns. The Fire This Time is divided into 3 parts that shine a light on the darkest corners of our history, wrestle with our current predicament, and attempt to envision a better future. Of the 18 pieces, 10 were written specifically for this volume. So that is The Fire This Time, edited by Jesmyn Ward. I believe she also she wrote the introduction, and in part 1 she has a piece called Cracking the Code. If I read The Fire Next Time, when I read The Fire Next Time, I think it'll be really fun and really interesting to read this sort of follow-up companion derivative work. So that really concludes my list. However, there is a very special last entry on this list. It is a middle grade novel written by a very dear friend of mine who published her first novel when this came out. An event for which I am extremely, extremely proud and very, very happy for her. This is an adorable middle grade book called Ruby Finley versus the Interstellar Invasion by the one and only Tempest Bradford. Tempest has been a dear friend of mine for many, many years, ever since 2008. Incredibly happy for her and so very, very proud of her. And I have still not read it. It came out in September of 2022, and I still have not read it because I did that thing that I do when I'm really excited about something where I put it off because I'm like delaying something awesome to just like save the best for last kind of thing. It's called Ruby Finley versus the Interstellar Invasion. It's very, very cute. This cover, cute, so cute. Buy the book, buy it. 11-year-old Ruby is a black girl who loves studying insects and would do just about anything to be an entomologist, much to the grossed-out dismay of Grandma. Ruby knows everything there is to know about insects, so when she finds the weirdest bug she's ever seen in her front yard, she makes sure no one is looking and captures it for further study. But then Ruby realizes that the creature isn't just a regular bug, and it has promptly burned a hole through her window and disappeared. Soon, random things around the neighborhood go missing, and no one's heard from the old lady down the street for a week. Ruby and her friends will have to recover the strange bug before the feds do. Ruby is the science hero we've all been waiting for. So excited, and so happy for Tempest. So that is Ruby Finley versus the Interstellar Invasion by Tempest Bradford. You should buy a copy of this book, and you should read it. So, those are all of the books that I have on my radar for this month, for Black History Month, that I'm hoping to get to. There's a lot of pages, so I don't know that I will get to all of them in the month of February, but I'm going to do my best. And I'm going to start right now by opening up and cracking the spine, proverbial spine, of When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. And that's a thriller, so I know that it'll go by quickly, and I'm gonna have a good time reading it. And so, with that, we reach the end of yet another TBR. Cheers. Come on, Elijah Craig. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe and like this video, hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content. And anytime you like or subscribe or post a comment on one of my videos, it just helps to encourage me to keep posting videos. And making these videos is what encourages me to keep reading, because I started this channel to help encourage myself and motivate myself in my reading journey, because I stopped reading for so many years. So by doing one of those little things, you can help me to continue my reading and continue posting, by which I hopefully am helping to encourage you to continue reading on your journey, and it can be like a back and forth thing. And that's what's awesome about YouTube. So I'm very grateful to have you all here. For those of you who have subscribed, you're the best. I appreciate you very much. And until next time, I will be here reading in the dark. Cheers. Okay, goodbye. I leave now. But first, I guess I'll turn off the camera.